here's a longish poem that I wrote called Acts of Contrition, which I'll just read it. 1. My loneliness, the sluttish chamber, tempting to hook some raw, flaps her hulking flummery and presses out her churlish jaw. Her darling fingers curl to claws. O God, her hind paws straddled me. Thou art mine, she cries, burnt man. My innocence, she pressed my lips. She held me tight against her breast. And I now claim her cleanliness, claim modesty before I turn away. 2. She sings, love me who am your God. A drunken sailor with a whore is all you'll find where bodies cross. And mangled words about the worm, the burning pitch and gnashing teeth. 2 strangers strewn between the sheets, just something easily achieved, the thieves' night rummaging for body parts. 3. But yes, I've known the wanton glory, sung by every idle daughter, a gangbang of pubescent gods, vicious in the red light quarters. Yet the fawn and nymph go merrily, with a hey-ho derry-derry, after polite, denuding words, buttering the fairy. They're on the cover of some rag, famed for being nasty, with a prince of darkness, queen of sleaze, sing Madonna, Idol, Presley, with a hey naughty naughty. 4. Tell me, must I turn away, fur-battered with a sheepish grin, twisting again from them? Oh, purity's a sweet disease, to walk like God through womankind, a celibate, the vows I lived. Each day I must awake to die. Or loveless, lured under a sky of fireworks, a bit of fluff can trip the carnal mind, whoop the latest war cry. 5. But no, I cannot fathom it. The earth is rich with crawling things. Let's leave them lie. From dung they rise to hawk some scandal, gloat and mince. Some witch or yellow journalist proving themselves serious in the most convenient way. That God is dead, but not amour. The haughty snickered novelty. 6. Mercy, come quick, we are burning. A comfortable, complacent sort of pyre rising from the groan of bristled bone. But some have chosen to go long into that horrid eternity, with cross and staff, with pen and peace, only a happy man understands. I'll hang 9 wounds upon my cross, until the labor pains enough, with blood and flesh, with thirst and tears, only a fool would understand, a baby born in a manger. 7. My God, the glorious tumult, being lifted up, glorious, a blood halo, and rubies at our hands and feet, shall drive into our tortured flesh, and then to hell be bound and tied, and suffer what we call redemption. Utterly alone, utterly the man, the humility and void of death, until the Father gives us breath. 8. Now comes Johnny in the rush, between love or a quick fuck. 20 years he blows a bush of frozen breath in fiery clouds. Silence, O silent night, the naked God finds root in what strains nightward, while fawns, ignorant of pain, go tripping in a fairy ring, and beyond there is the passion of the hounds. More or less in that same vein, I've written a little pastoral for an ex-girlfriend of mine many years ago, and it goes like this. Pastoral. With scissors, she trims the hem of her slip, the overhanging lace, the slit between her thighs, ritually purging herself from being seen slovenly. She lays the strips on the bed, near my legs, lace flowers for my eyes. I keep them like the garter thrown from the wedding to its bevy. She then rises for the world, leaving our little garden. She goes, one with the multitude, made of overt claims and contracts. Dressed so that none can see the purple of her nymphing, she goes innocently, making believe. Like adders spit and rabbits shriek is my lovely bride. Like minks are pink, only to be brutalized. Like pigs look handsomer on a skewer, like ducks stew in their kettles of fat. Hair of the dog is my lovely bride, fatten the lamb and tan the hide. And being pro-life, I have a poem written in my veins. It's a political poem, and kind of makes fun of the whole shebang that choice offers up. But I'll read it to you, decide for yourself. Choice. That she should abort or not, to her lover's mind, is not the issue. These two, birds of a feather, magpies picking a mango shrew, wrangled to a carnal measure, and call their ghastly fever pleasure. For there is indeed a knot, half-hitched, bonding this our carrion culture, a sensitivity which can tell its seeming lady's every wish, as when we suck young swallow's shell, drinking down the yellow slip. And with the devil, like a cult to which we prostitute ourselves, or like a flock of grackles bustle, and dismember every muscle, to shrill forth their greedy voice, we call our fornication choice, and raise our lungs to loud acclaim with president and congressmen, who'd normally not confuse consensus to a moon-pitched teenage menses. Yet for this crowd, unlike the blessed, the statesman's a lecher like the rest, and being such, feathers his nest, calling it politically correct. Here's a little religious poem I wrote many years ago that I resurrected, called Porcelain Statuette. The bowed head set like a plate, its halo of human intelligence, bowed to the fingertips of devotion, once lightly pressed, delicateness of faith. The eyes are closed, they do not see the hands pointed over the heart. In the smooth, white porcelain, the white-hot clay in which she is imagined, beyond beauty, that I can piece its broken yellow lines and hold its coldness to my face. Holy Mother, I say, Mother of God. And this is a little conversion poem that I wrote that's very elusive in a strange way, but it's called The Kiss. Struck by the kiss of gentle Christ, my voice still sobs baptized by him. I begin now to forget my crimes among the primitives. A God, a poisoned fruit, a mind as proud and idle as perverse. The mystic hinge which swings my soul, kissed open with the gentleness, where strangers whisper and eyes roll, doors unlock and laughter starts. These strangers, are they loving me? I touch their world, I pray my soul. And here's a Christmas poem more or less to do with the festivities rather than the spirit. It's called Housewarming the Nightingale. 1. I watch the women at the stove who spank and twist the bread dough with hands that toss in oiled palms the salad greens and dandelions, who tie the meat and let it stew with garlic, raisins, and fresh leeks. And now one fishes for a piece of string to clean her livid teeth. 2. The kitchen steams with boiling pots, while some rip a chunk of hot bread from a crusted loaf and dip it in the salad sauce, spread with butter thick and coarse guttering in our throats, then lick our fingers for the salt, and hang our heads drugged by the snack, and shuffle where the TV blares the kickoff to the football game. 3. Even on this holy night, dressed in finery and seeming quaint, the meal gets lodged with toothy quips and thoughtless snickered table tricks. Uncles, aunts, the snotty cousins, ripping and tearing into flesh. And then the giving of the gifts. 4. And I, robed only in my poems, seek company with the festive drum, perhaps with the religious aunt, whose spinster prayer and worry shrills, and I am terribly alone, and pick among the powdered sweets. But how the newborn baby sleeps, stuck fast, a drooling dove, in fat laps and stubby fingers, cowed by our warm and brutish love. One of my more favorite poets is Dylan Thomas, because he wrote with a lot of passion. And he wrote, he almost invented his own kind of language. But I'm not writing like he's writing, but I wrote a poem about him anyway, about his life. Dylan Thomas. He was the poet, plotting speeches with force and a tortured tongue intriguing, holding up a mirror for his meaning. A lemony sunstroke, a fabulous singer, bawdy as Pied Piper's son. The rats ran squealing like harbingers, with their fatted cheeks and pot bellies, and little scamper feet, and their terrorized eye. We preferred his trilling to the civilized shuffle and gait our intellects versed. The snippy cat in laureate's gutter, watching for the rat to burst. Then, after weeks leching high wire, playing the poet to the crowd, his wife would dredge him home unconscious, where he'd crash and grimly dry into withdrawals, blear delirium tremens, and cower to his vision of the gates of hell, while cats would lope the hills of Wales, limp meat in their mouths. And here's a poem for John Milton, who I never could read through because it's just too dense. But I wrote something called Paradise Lost for him. Paradise Lost. Dig down into the heart of Milton. Dig deep shale and crust. His bust corroded by perversions. His daemon overwrought. He domineered the frilly set with stilted rhetoric. His voice still sobs with clutching at the baptism of lust. And here's a poem where I imagine myself in the grave and I'm speaking. It's called Within the Dark of Earth. 1. Here in the dark of earth, the sharp spade cuts into my pith, where I can feel my wretched soul disgorging wild fawns my rabid dogs have killed. My madness, my desire howls within the dark of earth. Within my lips, behind my teeth, back in the roar of the deep of throat, my cold heart sobs where woodworms drown. Forgive me, Lord, for I have sinned. From such depth I call to him, but deeper, deeper I must scour, must turn his will into my drug, and like the leper plead, O God, on caked on crusted wood, 2. Why do you question mortal love? Because its pain is in my blood. Who's blinded you to stay aflame? My angel and my mother both. Who's led you to me by the throat? The madness, the lust. And this is a poem I wrote maybe 5 years ago for my father. And it's not very happy, but I like the form it's written in. House. My father calls to me through the room with a voice heavy and fatigued. Son, what have you made of yourself? And I drone to him like a bee. He moves to the wine cellar and selects a year in which he recalls peace. Son, set the table, and I scatter our isolate salts to the wind. Fresh loaves of bread come hot from the oven, crisp with resins and powders. Son, take some nourishment, and I bite deep at our deaths. Bless me, Father, it's getting late, and he lifts the house from our heads. Here's something just called fragments. I don't know if they're supposed to be following each other logically or if they just set themselves up as fragments. But I'll read it. Fragments. 1. The spring, it breaks with scent of earth, a goddess swift, within this weather's winter front. Grotesquerie of greenery, all days are merely vanity, and giddy we go reeling. The scented flower blossoms rude and beautiful, within this hothouse cracked with frost, while spiders claim the tulip bloom. 2. O God, then shall I say I've seen the broken bird and bristling cat, wearing human faces. Could you shut up, please? Do what you're doing and I'll go on. I'll start from the beginning. Fragments. 1. The spring, it breaks with scent of earth, a goddess swift, within this weather's winter front. Grotesquerie of greenery, all days are merely vanity, and giddy we go reeling. The scent of flower blossoms rude and beautiful, within this hothouse cracked with frost, while spiders claim the tulip bloom. 2. O God, then shall I say I've seen the broken bird and bristling cat, wearing human faces, and days and years cut from that cloth, the tears and the hungry gruel, and sympathy that shares its meal with the sorrow shock, and dizzy blood drinking full in farewell the sacrament cup. 3. After I sipped their wine, ate their crumbled crackers, and dabbed my lips and fingers with a napkin. After I shook their hands, touching the scales of cold wet fish, wishing some quick epiphany or subtle exit, I seemed a priest, outside of all convention, absolving and repentant, with a conspirator's chuckle and a nod of the head. Then I bit with sympathy a bit of cheese circling on the cocktail dish. 4. Love, I learned to love you, love, before I understood your cross, the bitter cup, the thorns and nails. The world makes nothing of this, knows nothing but the crimes among the primitives, chanting with a clanging cymbal and pounding a wet drum, take up your flesh and follow us. For we would paint kingdom come or love in martyr's blood, to mock the times, to make of time a glory and a farce, and howl its glory to our horse. 5. Death by gun and death by hangman, an eye for eye and tooth for tooth, and death by famine, death by neglect and by disease, and death hacked from the womb. And you who walk within God's thought, between the icy and white-hot, ecstatic day of the last vision, when all bones sleeping rise and quake, and the embryos of 30 million angels rise with trumpeting, 30 million shining like suns, their martyrdom in the cruel steel clutch, and the weak pipe, in the frenzied drum, no Rachel weeping for her children. 6. And the child cries, before the sky came into being, I played at my ease in the universe. And Father picked me from my knees and stood me straight, tired, disgusted with puberty, and passion gnawed to the bare bone. Yet the spoken words seem wasted breath in the silence between God and man, except for who is naked and frail and dependent for his love and bread. And I, in my 34th year. Thank you.
I'd like to just say a couple of words about myself, where I come from at this point. I'm a beginning social worker at a target agency in Jersey City, and that's what I do for a living. Preparing myself when I write poetry. I'd like to begin tonight by reading a poem that I had published in a Jewish magazine called Response in 1988. It's about me and my ex-wife, and when I use the term ex-wife, you'll see how it fits into the poem. It's called Cabal of Two. Your 7th Avenue career cosmos' glitter and high-powered crackle, so incongruous with patient baking of tegla at the high holidays, with putting your miniature forest of houseplants in the shower for water nurture, like green babies to be bathed, or your months of still evenings painstaking sewing of intricate petty points design. You are, dear one, quirky sublime enigma to me, your elusive essence fragrance to wet passion. We know only coastlines of each other's continents, only anterooms to the apartments of each other's souls, say some who pass for sages. Yet when you and I share spiritual insight, almost unspoken love of a TV, film, or theater drama, talk of books relished, estimate people we know too well, confide worst fears and flickering hopes, make love an orgy of two in the dark, or more prosaically, pick groceries in the supermarket with abandon, and, after pitched battle, each psychically bleeding, we mend our life together, heal love's wounds with cabalistic seeming secrets we did not know we knew. I partake more of you, you more of me, hour by day by week, than so many share of anyone in a lifetime. This is another poem about my ex, which I'm very proud of, and it was published in a magazine called Icon out of Kent State University back in 1989. And you need to know something about the title to fully appreciate it. The title of the poem is called Golden Hands. Now, golden hands in Yiddish is a term that means some person, usually a woman, who is very, very gifted with a needle and thread, almost like a magician in effect. Golden hands, you with your rainbow threads, sew the remainder of torn rags that once was all there was of me. Sew so intently through this winter's night, as though a quiet, fierce angel sent to mend the whole world. This is a poem in a rather different vein, you might say almost a different genre. It was published in International Poetry Review from Greensboro, South Carolina. And it's called They Give It a Name. I'm going to let the poem speak for itself. I don't want to say too much about it. I think you'll get the drift of it. 1. In a new bedroom town, I lived centuries a youth in exile, where life passes in featureless houses, the sky empty always, no sun, moon, star, or cloud. Like a planetarium at show's end, streets going nowhere, lawns so perfect, a movie set unused. Families undifferentiated, faces like dough. 2. Slowly I fled to a place where time has the consistency of flowing steel, where the night lasts for years, with crazy stars, even a midnight sun, to suggest a balanced universe somewhere. Torn by a kaleidoscopic mind, confined by bars, stark walls, nurses, the world slowly became real in its way. There were strange blessings, cryptic messages in shafts of sunlight, in the chance remarks of madmen. 3. Something nameless, outside time, but they give it a name. Go on as though insanity had no place in this world, as though torture were not a daily occurrence. Go on as though things make sense. Pray that you will not find it otherwise. This is a poem that I wrote rather recently for my father. It's the first poem I've written for him, and so far the only one, but I have a feeling that there may be more. It was written last July, and it's called Metaphysical Discourse with Dad. It's a different form from some of the others, but I'll try it anyway. Metaphysical Discourse with Dad. You have always avoided coming to terms with people as they are. Mysterious, ambivalent, complex, capable of good or evil. You tend to feel that money is the root of all our problems. The simple answer: eliminate all capital. Humanity's natural goodness would come to the fore, and we would have an earthly paradise. Still, I say, most people are neither inherently all good nor bad, Dad. No matter what the system, they are a mixture of inclinations. In other words, until the days of the Messiah, forever choosing. That is to say, we have free will. In my view, there is no grand moral determinism. Not money, not power, not sex, not even God control our moral choices. Do not complain so much about people's making money or be so upset by their backward ideologies. Instead, address the good you can find in humankind while cultivating the decent people you meet. You will discover that God is compassionate, a just God, that life can be truly satisfying, and that you can truly love and be loved. But do not under any circumstances abandon your prophetic hunger for justice. It is people like you who make our world better than it otherwise might be. In the immortal words of the Hebrew Bible, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his most precious blessing. Shalom. This is one of my few Holocaust poems. I haven't written very many of them, and I don't know how many more I will ever write, but I had to try to at least write some to express my feelings, which I kind of carry around with me all the time. I think about the Holocaust fairly frequently. This poem is called A Kind of Redemption. And the first line begins, Erev Pesach, 5703, 1943, which means the eve of Passover, 1943. The Molotov cocktail sun exploding at dusk. Warsaw's resistance. Nightmare Nazis destroyed the ghetto with gas, fire, artillery tanks at heavy cost. But for 33 days, Jews died fighting for every house, each pile of rubble, finally every sewer. Few escape, most die. Like Jewish women who fired their weapons into advancing flamethrowers rather than surrender. Few escape, most die. Yet Jews claim something. We would fight for our freedom, and if freedom were not available, then our dignity. Our dignity, our honor, a kind of redemption. This poem is called Psalm. It was written in 1980, and again, I think it kind of says what it has to say. I hope that it approaches being a psalm anyway. Psalm. When I bow down in pain, you come near. Tell me small joys will suffice in this need. And dust, anger, violets, and smiles, all I must hold dear. For you are never absent. It is only I who lose you, source of my strength. I will learn to seek you not in places familiar, not in synagogues or shining noons, but in fouled alleyways, smog factory towns, even death camps. For when my body's long buried, when earth is a ball of ashes, and the universe itself spun dead, I will seek you. Somewhere I will find you. This is, again, a change of pace. It's a love poem. I've been told by writing teachers that I write better love poems than most poets, which is not saying much. But anyway, this is one that I wrote to a woman that I never actually got involved with, except, emotionally. But it's called Portrait of a Loved One. Eyes of a shining pale blue, as though the sensitive texture of the sky had sustained a hurt and mended itself. Face of a luminous ivory, as in a Tintoretto painting, that hue Italian Renaissance painters so loved. Full dark curls flowing freely, as if a well-crafted Victorian doll from some young girl's room had suddenly come life-size, real and strong. You mystify, tantalize, enchant me. I want merely to reach out, touch you. This is a poem that I never sent out much for publication. There are a couple of poems like this about my younger brother who died years ago. And it's called simply My Brother. He was never much more than a boy, his doctor recalled. That is part of the reason I never understood him. My brother, a 25-year-old with too little tolerance for life's pain, who took pills to make him sleep, to take away the pain. He took too many, the pain is no more. He is better off, perhaps. There is a truism. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Billy simply left the house altogether. This poem is one that I wrote, I think, in 86 or 87 when I was living in Nutley, and was very impressed with the gas station. It's called Tikkun Olam. Now, Tikkun Olam in Hebrew is a term that means to repair the world, to make the world whole. And the emphasis is on repair. Cars pull in to be serviced, bright as newly minted coins, crisp as fresh printed bills. This gas station in decided contrast with those glinting sports sedans, greasy, oily, a place of serious work, a sanctuary for these mechanics unimpressed by appearances. The attendant who pumps gas walks with difficulty, serving customers in the rain. His uniform grimy, wet, but the steel-rimmed glasses frame a stoic scholar's face. A busy but deliberate young mechanic is on duty in the garage. He strains over engines with the dedication of Bezalel's craftsman, constructing the wilderness tabernacle. It is a rainy, mild April afternoon. Trees, grass, and nearby lawns smell of green. Bushes and blossom diffuse a seductive scent. Yet despite springtime's perfume, these men labor honestly, aware that so much is broken in this world besides cars, and they continue to repair. This is a poem I wrote when I was working for the Port Authority. I worked for the Port Authority for 21 years in management, and from the late 60s until the late 80s. And when I had time, I would jot down a poem, or the draft of a poem, and then finish it later. And this is one that occurred to me in the offices of the Port Authority. It's called Reckoning. Exhalation of prayer unimaginable. In still boardrooms, plush closed offices, once omnipotent lords reduced to supplication. You would find them, if you could, secretly enter their bitter executive suites in moments of complete reversal, desperation. They know no appropriate liturgy. They grope for makeshift words to lament the failure of their ancient idols. The lords are human. This is a short love poem written a long time ago, over 20 years ago. It's called Winter Love. It's a haiku. Winter Love. As harbor's night horn cries, I seek the smile in your voice in dreams' cold streets. This is the one poem about my brother Billy that I did have published in a Jewish magazine called Jewish Spectator out in California in 1988, I guess it was. It's called Yahrzeit. And Yahrzeit in Yiddish means, or German, means an anniversary of someone's death. And you go to the synagogue and you say Kaddish and so forth. Yahrzeit. It is raining today, the 13th anniversary of your suicide. There was so little I could do for you, my brother. I could not even mourn. Tonight I will try to pray, light a candle, recite the Kaddish, and finally begin to remember. The title of this poem, this is another love poem from 1980. It was, the title of the poem is simply July 14th, 1980. Enveloped in haze, the city from this tower's height appears a mere enormous toy, something for a pastime, a holiday. It does not seem an overwhelming hive where so many struggle to make life bearable. It does not seem to seethe with loves and resentments. Somewhere amidst fragile cardboard-looking buildings, you and I live a contradictory existence together. You who take this city for granted and think you know it are amazed by the strange conflicts it engenders. That you should so utterly love me, yet be unfaithful, while I, untrue to every lover past, remain stubbornly loyal, even tolerant of your betrayal. The city is clouded, makes us invisible to ourselves, to those we care for. We live out its strangeness, for we know no other. Yeah.
What was that last one about? Is that Paris or
New York?
New York? All right.
Let's start and read a couple of her pieces
Introduce yourself, Chris.
and express distress.
And these are a couple of Harriet Zinn's pieces which were published in, I think 1981 it says, from Book of 10, Book of 20. Started out as Book of 10, became Book of 20. And these are two photo poems titled 16 and 17. She waited on 16th Street near 5th, walked up towards 6th, changed her mind, found herself on 10th Street, crossed Hudson, looked for absent peers, wandered toward Christopher, returned to 16th Street, near 7th. The camera behind her clicked all the time. The photographer's footsteps sounded in her ears. She never turned around. 3 years later, at a party in an apartment on 16th, corner 3rd, she saw slides of her back waiting on 16th near 5th, her back walking up towards 6th, her back crossing Hudson, her back on Christopher, her back waiting on 16th near 7th. Back to camera, ex-wife takes a walk, said the photographer, introducing the slides to his guests. 17. Lifting the photograph album from the table, he placed it on his lap and started to look. Someone had taken photographs of the 17 figures before him, had posed those 17 figures in a tableau so that 17 figures would appear later on a table on a lap. This time, his. Now, he, without camera, with only eyes, 2 eyes, was looking at 17 figures, unmoving figures, frozen figures, on a page in a photograph album. The pictures were white and black, the people were white and black. The album was white turning gray, with one smudge from one finger. The smudge lay on album superimposed. The people were flat, one-dimensional. The names were blurred. No credit was given to a photographer. Faces were clear, smiles, frowns, stares, arms lifted at rest, feet poised. Some faces sideways, others straight. 17 faces. He closed the album, returned it to his spot on the table. He stood up. Feet poised for a moment, face frozen for a moment, hands on hips for a moment. His feet began to move. He walked out of the door. In transit, he closed the door. The album remained on the table. He was not in any photograph. He walked down the steps. Behind him, someone was taking his... I'll read a few pieces. I'm not sure how long they are, but some are short, some are long. From like more recent to old and kind of meandering back again. This is called The Rose. The turning wave of the hand against the whispered shadow of glass, the tangled weave of sound that no one heard in time. Into the shattered cell of heart, Rose descends. Rose who has seen 1,000 wounds. Rose of the house of blue grass. Rose of the handmaiden's curse, Rose of the banshee's room, wandering the Irish moors, glass in hand, drinking down the rain. Rose of the typewriter dance, Rose of the tuneless piano, Rose on the dark mahogany banister. She has curled on rugs in the cemetery dawn in a room of dust in the closets of sorrow, spying on the sunmotes and the doleful church bells where the years have altered nothing but the landscape. Rose, inside you move the holy waters of the sea, bottled in sapphire, buried for years in schools of surrender. Rose, hopeful blue dreamer in the bone garden. Rose, singing hymns to the silent rooms of her lovers. Rose, you stand in regal purple robes like a dethroned queen, broken by the inconsistency of facts and desires, foiled by a fate that is blind. When you have parted from your shadow and the clocks turn time, when the geometry of daylight breaks like an axe against my mirror, and the chamber of the heart holds no sun nor rain. A word may still be left, a small word, a word which will have windows, feet, nails, and tongue, to give it Godspeed and to articulate direction. And may you wear it like a ring of golden light, as a prayer for the life you hold within you, tattered, yet persistent as the sun above the history of your nights. This is called Little Bomb. Blind alley cats running over the deadly precipice like lemmings, foghorns and taillights foiled and mazed, the black-top beckons the nine-fingered riders. The maps have all been torn, the trail of bones weathered. Ideas and books are stillborn, static, no piranha teeth yet, no wheels, no blood or grasping skin to wake this drowsy eye. Each new sound tumbling out of windows in the dark heart of rain falls, cracking shells of a photographic memory where feet and hooves tread in the anonymous pale moonlight. This is not a love poem. It's called Shattered. Shatter me with your eyes, shatter me with your encircling arms, shatter me with your mind of 1,000 diamonds, shatter me with the kindness of your smile, shatter me and let me melt upon your shore, shatter me and refill the oceans. I hold no grip, I have no ground, I stand for nothing, in water, transubstantial in steam, and nothing fills me with delight more than being an open wound in your mirror. I am weightless, bodiless, painless, before your countenance bleeding, pure and naked as before I was born. I ache to be filled with the world, to be played by pathos on the harp of your heart. I am the instrument of all that I know. I fall in your sands and forget all my lives. Shatter me and drown my preconceptions. Shatter me whole and lick my bony fragments from the ground. Shatter me with a word or gesture of cruelty, truth, or compassion. Shatter me with your concupiscence. I will fill myself with the air you breathe, to be a balloon at the end of your string, a clock at the start of your day, shattered as a crashing plane, shattered as a vandalized car, shattered as a tragic lantern. I came to be as a result of being shattered. I understood language consequent to being shattered. I gave up sex and gave into desire as a result of being shattered. I gave up abstinence and gave myself to lovers as a result of being shattered. I turned to art and embraced the world of the ineffable heart as a consequence of being shattered. I've shattered myself in front of obstinate mirrors and the gray suit gossip of office latrines. I've shattered other lives by being myself in no disguise at dawn, a stoic in my guilt. I've shattered the expectations of parents, teachers, bosses, brothers, politicians, lovers, killers. I've smoked and broken the tall trees of anger and pride and watched them burn in their shattered solitude, only to realize that beneath the rooted bark is the pregnant space of air, that which always begs to be released in spite of leashes and walls, into the street to be traced and shattered by what is always going to be shattered by the lines of my hand. And this is an older poem that was written, I guess, during the end of the Reagan era. It's called Poem. Poem. Why poem? Under falling bridges and the senseless ravings of an obtuse president. Why poem? The rampant abuse of the human heart. Why poem? Not club when the fear tactics of police death squads are real and apparent. Poem. Why poem? Not drug when USA's CIA supports armed thugs in South America who provide presidents dope. Poem. Why poem? For lawyers and cops to make money from pain and free economy? No poem. Why poem? Not commodity when gray suit corporate clowns run a country full of greed and venom. Why poem? Not gasoline when a car wash is cleaner than the rain. Why poem? Not pornography when man and woman oppose themselves and each other, hit or misogyny on domestic battlefields. Why poem? When scars not healed by right-wing bigots, bad school teachers, and TV drones. Why poem? When advertising makes the world go round. Why poem? Not fashion when animals die for ego's winter coat. Why poem? Not touch when computers say sex can fill the night like rain. Why poem? Not vision when art school snipers play for the hit parade of dollars. Why poem? When friends and enemies both die of the same disease. Why poem? When all you can say at the end is maybe if. Why poem? Why poem? Why poem? Because it's a sign of all that remains of the articulate heart, because it's a sign that we have not given up, because it's a sign of total disregard and absolute disdain for the powers that be against said poem. Why poem? Stop. Listen. Poem. I think I ever read this one. This is The Streets of Malady. I have wandered the streets of Malady, sleepless, frostbitten, braced against the dawn by Salvation Army bells around my waist, intimate with wind over my hands. I have watched the gray-suited arrogance, the spastic dancers of briefcase babble, and mirthlessly incessant hum. Business is made this way. Heart of America, where have you run? I stand at your door, chapped, aching for a beam of light, not fluorescent, not incandescent, the kind they try so hard to remove from the doomed chambers of the worker's heart. I walk through this like a dumb zombie. This shame of participation churns in my groin. I've spit out other days like this 1,000 times, it seems. I've had the sickness I see before me. I have wandered vague and blonde through the dumb gates of corporate cemetery schools. I too have sucked the milkless breasts of mother money honey, returning again and again to the shame and minor pleasures that for some describe whole lives, unlived fossils at age 30. I stand before them now to ask no money, to ask no mercy, to ask no sweet office latrine. I stand before this obscene gray edifice to ask for the package that bears my name, on earth as it is in heaven. Amen. This is called Less Than One. This should be done with like really happy music, so it's kind of like, you know, the irony of the happy music. Either that or like somebody banging on a piano with their head. Bad thing, beastly dream, vicious thing, a dog of love dies in vain, a crime done wrong, a vicious thing, burns down house and home, break it, all the stuff that fits inside, too much in the brain to think, to do. Oh, vicious thing, look and see the cracking sky, the crypt of love is filled with dust, sky is falling, so am I, bad thing, dream, broken brain, cry and kick, the force of habit so real and dumb, nothing plus nothing is less than one, bad, big dumb dream, less than one. And this was something that was inspired by a trip where we ended up at some, I think it was a Howard Johnson's up in New England somewhere, if there still are any that serve food. And they had these Friday night fish fries that were pretty amusing. And this time the fish weren't green, but it's called fish fry. Fish fry, Friday, all you can eat. Fish fry, all you want to eat. Thanks, Howard. It never looks the same, red and green, like Christmas, shifted. Not a present. Ketchup everywhere, but nothing fit to eat. No nutrition on the road. These are a couple of really short things and sort of quasi-haiku-like, but maybe not. It's called Smokescreen. The perfect poise of Vivian Lee. She lights a cigarette on film. Night is all right and the day is okay, but the best would be something between the two, a point of perfect, stupid stillness. Some of these got ravaged through years of, or even days. It only takes a few days to ravage these papers. It's called Crash Boom Bang. Just like an accident waiting to happen, just like a car, I careen down the road, looking for brick walls, bridges, and Burger Kings. Something to say is just falling from my mouth. Is it something to hit or just break away from? I cavort on the wings of a plane with a destiny. Crash, boom, bang. The plane bursts into flames, plunges down through a lifetime of sound, just like a dead bird or angels on acid, up the drowning staircase. Crash, boom, bang. I want to steal a new face. The traces of history have too many names, too many nothings, and there's too much to see. The good things are old, of course the bad stuff is free. Crash, boom, bang, all fall down. It's time to say hello to the big fish of time. Shake the bones under the thin white line. It's time to comprehend that old falling feeling, just to remember why nobody wins. What goes down today is a downer tomorrow. Crash, boom, bang. Just like an ashtray in a house burning down, when the firemen are drunk and the cops never come until the rugs are all burned, and the smoke is all gone and there's nothing to find, where the angels are bleeding in blue, I forget my own name in the rush of sound. It sticks in my throat, precious rust on the wings, the days that are melting and the nights that don't end. Crash, boom, bang, all fall down, all fall down, all fall down. That's all. Thanks.
You're all familiar with. His name is Richard Milhouse Nixon. It's from his Checkers speech, September 1952. This was Nixon's speech, which came in the midst of Eisenhower's campaign, which, as many of you know, Nixon was the VP on Eisenhower's ticket. He was opposing Adlai Stevenson. While the Republicans ran on a platform of scourging Democratic corruption in Washington, Nixon was accused of keeping a secret slush fund provided by fat cat contributors. You might have heard of them later on. B.B. Rebozo and Robert Vesco. B.B. Rebozo and Robert Vesco. It certainly existed, but at that time it was legal. The appearance of a war chest was terrible for Republicans. However, Nixon was on the verge of resigning from the ticket. This speech saved Nixon's career. I should say this, that Pat doesn't have a mink coat, but she does have a respectable Republican cloth coat. And I always tell her that she would look good in any coat. One other thing I should probably tell you, because if I don't tell you, they'll be saying this about me too. You did get something, a gift, after the nomination. A man down in Texas heard Pat on the radio mention the fact that our two youngsters would like to have a dog, and believe it or not, the day before we left on the campaign trip, we got a message from Union Station in Baltimore saying that we had a package for us. You know what it was. It was a little Cocker Spaniel dog in a crate that they had sent all the way from Texas, black and white, spotted, and a little girl, Tricia, the 6-year-old, named it Checkers. And you know the kids, like all kids, love that dog. And I just want to say this right now, that regardless of what they say about it, we're going to keep it. Well, that was something that probably changed, of course, American history, and I know that you poetry readers are impressed with. There's just one other thing that I want to read before I run off the stage here, and that's something from JFK's inaugural, January 20th, 1961, which was after the blasé days of Eisenhower, etc. This was his inaugural address. Let the word go forth from this commonplace to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation. Tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, willing to bear any burden, any price. Proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness the slow and undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed, and to which we are committed today, at home and around the world. Now the trumpet summons us again, not as a call to bear arms, though arms we need, but a call to bear the burden of a long twilight struggle, year in, year out, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, a struggle against the common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Viewpoint. We'll next hear from Michael Anthony.
How you doing? I got 4 poems for you, original poems. First one is called This Rebel Hope.
Just the end.
I see more than sex. I feel more than conceit. I see a world torn apart, people's will delete. I see the devastations of a broken heart, the revenge of chance for a brand new start. For in your silence I could hear your rage, to be free from the heartlessness of this monopoly's cage. this rebel hope must never die. This rebel hope must forever fly. Alone or together, this rebel hope can never stand still. We must romance the hope of salvation. We must instill true compassion without greed's reservation, without greed's invitation to heal and make whole these precious hearts of hunger and hurt. We must believe in the good of our being, or perish by the perfections of power's evil seeing. We must distinguish between our imagination. We must distinguish between our dignity, or forever be held for ransom by the deficits of all our fear. This rebel hope must never die. This rebel hope must forever fly. Alone or together, this rebel hope can never stand still. The joy we will find in the humility of our pride when we learn to forgive all of the ignorance in yesterday's stride. For when we learn to love better than the camaraderies of hate, then true harmony will be our most treasured fate. This rebel hope must never die. This rebel hope must forever fly. Alone or together, this rebel hope can never stand still. Road-driven nights, truck-stop caffeine, searching for new frontiers between tradition and our dreams. Highways paved in leather, our spirits sound of steel. This fight must live on forever, to live the way we feel. This rebel hope. This is called On the Prowl. Be always on the prowl for rebounds of your id's will, form of drive, that of pure survival, vital to excel the essentials given, mostly developed by mankind. All profligacies be gone, for life is the responsibility of man's action. That one aim at living can rejuvenate the sanctuaries of this earth, especially the renovation of the mind, body, and spirit. Mankind in all capacity, nevertheless, must provide outrageous foundations of fact and reality for all youth to stand upon, to consistently expose energies completely original, that of life's reprise, to keep alive the adventures of our hearts must never pause. This is called Feel Life. Feel life in your heart, feel life in your soul. To experience a path in this life, that one will know that not just is any contest in this life to take root. Follow your aim and you'll be ready to move. Abort all confusion and any other expendable obstacles. Voice your true perseverance and build your sanctuary skeleton. Life is in you like life is in me. Lucifer, take our hands, but you will never get our souls. For in detention stands many a frustrated heart, trying to seek truth in so many apart. Eternity is so frightening for those with no mind of their own, for they will dangle like puppets when they stand alone. To hell all you men and women whose claims of righteousness that are the threat to the hearts of all loving ways, to that which is pure and simple. Commence all children with fortitude and perseverance, or sustaining all joys and entertainments as one. Stand and be faithful for all that is real, within your multitudes or solitude, in respects that you kneel. May God be with you in your days of succession, His strength your security and only protection. And this is the last one. This is called Love is the Outlaw. Hopes and desires were never the only emotions between the days and nights of your compassionate ways that has helped me to comprehend this life's richness. For me, life has been the strength in your heart in times of ecstasies and uncertainties that only you have stood fast by my side and withstood the turmoils of existence, the tests of judgment and morals of the heart. Simply grow with me. For you I shall take life into my hands from out of my soul, this challenge of disposition, to project all causes reason of reality that I strive for nevertheless. Can you see the good, the bad in me that wants to be a part of your life? I will not back away, despite your supremacies or inferiorities, for my dreams are never fictitious. for they are as real as the securities you nourish upon. Fear never for my seductions, or as gentle as a baby's cooing and laughter, for I am still a child, happiest of eternal foreplay. In this life I've never once embraced you, but in spirit I'm making love to you zealously always. So my only life of life, sleep in peace of mind, for God and I guard over you indestructibly and await your adventures now. Thank you.
Marta Rose. Can you hear me okay? I guess not. I'm short. Can you hear me all right? This is a poem that I wrote about Ed Gein. Ed Gein was a guy who lived in Wisconsin in the 1950s. He was like, Jeffrey Dahmer is like a modern-day version of Ed Gein. Basically, Ed Gein was this lonely old guy. He lived with his mother till she died. And, you know, he never had girlfriends. He never got married. And he had a strange relationship with the mother, like a love-hate relationship with his mother. She didn't approve of any girl he brought home. What he would do is he'd lure girls home to his farm. And he would murder them and save the body parts, something like Jeffrey Dahmer did. This is called His Mother's Skin. Traces of crimson follow the hunter home. The smell of blood stings the cold November air. Not all of it is animal. Crouching behind frosty windows, he lures his prey with promises of fire, food, trappings. Jars of dreams line the shelves of his memory. Kathy's silken hair. Mary's pendulous breasts. Ginny's firm, round buttocks. A hot pair of legs hangs, smoking. Strong women stop in their tracks and grow ill. Bones from his past block the door. His mother, the only perfect non-virgin, lives here too. Cloaked in her clinging skin, he yearns to become her. This is a poem written about my ex-boyfriend, called Haunted.
Nice segue there.
Juxtaposition of those two.
That's my ex-boyfriend. This house is haunted by indecision. Lights flicker uncontrollably. The rooms grow dimmer day by day, but so slowly that no one finds the darkness strange. This house is haunted by disappointment. Broken promises lie breathless in closets, waiting for some unsuspecting victim to open the door. This house is haunted by lies slithering in the basement, gnawing their way into the foundation, cracking its bones. This house is haunted by a confused child wandering aimlessly through its halls, trying to find the room where it all began. My skin shivers as I ascend the stairs. Here's a piece I had published in Metropolitan Diary in the New York Times. I had written it as a poem, but they printed it prose. It's called Pasta Cemetery. The directions said, get off the parkway, make 2 left turns, Pasta Cemetery. I backed the car up. I always wanted to see what happened to that plate of spaghetti I had left over in 1965 because my brother said it looked like worms. And whatever became of the huge dish of linguine I couldn't finish last year. Must have been smothered by the white clam sauce. I recognized some baked ziti we were served at my ex-sister-in-law's one summer. Cooked to death, read the epitaph. The casualties continued. Rigatoni, created 1975. Destroyed by sauce from the jar. Here lies lasagna, dead from neglect in someone's refrigerator. 1 mushroom pizza to go, found cold one evening in the back of a delivery truck. Never again will I drive past the cemetery without paying my due respects. Whiskey. Whiskey, that's what it says, in bright white letters, on the back of Johnny D's baseball shirt. Whiskey, it says, like the label on the bottle. Whiskey, that's what it says on Johnny's breath. Whiskey quit his accounting job so he could work for his old man upholstering furniture. Whiskey got kicked out of the office 4 times, once for going over his limit, 2 for fighting, 3 for acting rowdy, and 4 for going back into the kitchen and tasting the food. Whiskey lost $300 in the ocean at Manasquan Beach because he went swimming with his wallet. Whiskey, at Kathy's wedding, told the maid of honor she was fat, tossed his cookies in the ladies' room, yelled out loud during the ceremony, passed out in a puddle outside in his brand new suit. "Get up, Johnny," yelled Bill, "you'll ruin your suit. Get away from me, you thrifty motherfucker. I don't give a shit about this suit. I'll go out and buy me 3 new suits." Whiskey. I called Smitty to come get him at the beach house. "Smitty, you gotta come quick. Johnny's slipping out. He's throwing furniture around, breaking lamps and stuff." Smitty yawned. Probably means he's sober. This is a beach poem. The summer's coming up. It's called "No Busting Loose on the Beach." No busting loose on the beach. Yes, nature tempts like city store windows, but there is nothing we, the council, cannot sanction, own, conquer. Victory over holiday hedonists, our motto. Beach Nazis guard like sentinels in order to improve on nature by not touching it. No roller skating on the boardwalk, no eating here, no sitting there. What next? No bikinis on flamingos? Know thy maker, know thy counsel. What other pleasures to punish? We are the council, out to bust holiday hedonists, out to bust loose on the beach. God's country, 'tis of us. Our sanctions sting worse than man o' war. We have functions to fulfill, because we burn in the sun, we're scared of the waves, and sand gets up our cracks. Want. I wrapped myself in want last night, an embarrassed purple velvet robe blushing in the folds, leaking lush want drops on the floor, which expanded and pulsated to the rhythm of your Air Force blue voice. To Eric. I follow you as would a sniper, look you up in the phone book, but never call. Drive by your house at all hours, but never stop. Look for your car, your bedroom light. Search for your name in the local paper. Seek out people who know of you, your whereabouts, and pray that I never run into you. Marlin. Marlin vandalizes books. He breaks into their chapters and robs the characters of their clothes, their thoughts, their gestures. He cases the shelves for Jack, the geek accountant, for Joan, the junkie PTA mother, for Lori, the teenage prostitute, for Paco, the numbers runner. And he slips into their jackets, breaks their bindings, and haunts the bars at closing time. Promiscuous words. You may not sleep around, but your words do. Lord knows your I love you has been in everyone's bed in town. Your I want you beckons to everyone from the corner of Main at 3 a.m., hangs out at Dipsy's Bar and Grill until closing time. Your I need you is a man-child wandering around in the Port Authority bus terminal toilet. Your forgive me cruises the parkway winking at red lights, pulling up to the White Castle for some late-night fries. Your take me back is an old whore in a checkered cab, going downtown, nowhere, fast. This will be my last one. It's called Chinese Takeout. You tease me like a succulent Chinese meal. Enticing crispness envelops hidden treasures. Spicy anecdotes whet my appetite for your tangy tales of dough and saucy stories of a sordid past. Oh, how I love your zesty ways as you run your fingers down column A and column B, finding nothing to your liking. You make my mouth water with your salty barbs, slung at those who must serve. You fill me with cup after cup of hot tips of how-tos, and, in the end, you tantalize me with promises of your good fortune. But an hour later, I'm hungry again. Thank you.
Yes, so we're going to have a sing.
You're on.
Alice Cronin is our next poet. Ready to read her large, big block Hemi would never be. I go over and sit down, and we talk and laugh, and she doesn't mind living in the parking lot. She's never been fussy. It's time for bed now, she says. and I lie down on the gravel and sleep. Thank you.
Gallagher.
Thank you. I don't really have any poetry. I have taken to writing. Wait, hold on. What's the word? What? What is it? In the Bible. No, parable. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wrote a parable. Okay, and this is the parable of the Slim Jim. And there was once a very rich man who had 3 sons. And he brought them all into the house one day and he said to them,